Human accepted an alien slave as payment, only to discover she was the heir of a lost empire. Jack Carter had been traveling through the outer rim of the galaxy for months, searching for work that could pay enough to keep his small ship running. The engines were old, the hull scratched from countless runs through asteroid belts, and the navigation systems had a habit of failing at the worst possible times. Yet, Jack liked it this way. The quiet hum of his ship, the stars stretching endlessly around him, made him feel alive. One day, he received a distress call from a small alien outpost orbiting a dying star. The message was simple: reactor meltdown, immediate help needed. Payment uncertain. Jack knew the risks. Outposts on the rim were dangerous. Many had no security, and pirates often attacked ships that answered distress calls. But he had a soft spot for those in need, and he also liked work that paid. Sometimes the reward wasn't just credits. He set course immediately. When Jack arrived, the scene was worse than he imagined. The outpost floated half-broken in space, metal plates missing, sparks flying from exposed panels. Aliens of various shapes scurried about, trying to contain the reactor damage. Jack docked his ship and jumped into the chaos. He didn't wait for instructions. He ran straight to the reactor, scanning the readouts. The energy core was unstable. If it went critical, it would destroy the outpost and scatter debris for light years. Jack began his work, connecting tools and rewiring circuits, sweat dripping down his forehead. He had done work like this before, but never with alien life depending on him. He felt the weight of responsibility in a way he had rarely felt in his human colonies. Hours passed. Jack fought against failing systems and alien technology he barely understood. The aliens watched him in awe, whispering to each other in their strange languages. When he finally stabilized the reactor, the outpost stopped shaking, the lights flickered back to life, and the alarms fell silent. Jack stepped back, exhausted but proud. After catching his breath, Jack went to discuss payment with the outpost council. They were a small group of alien merchants and technicians, anxious and fidgeting. One of them, a tall, thin creature with green skin and 3 eyes, spoke in broken Galactic common. Human payment, credits insufficient, alternative offered. Jack frowned. He was not used to barter that didn't involve currency. Alternative, he asked. The council hesitated. One of the younger merchants finally spoke. A slave, bonded, legal, can pay debt. Jack froze. He had heard of alien slavery, but he had never dealt with it personally. He hated the idea, but he also knew that if he refused, the outpost would collapse, and the slave would be sold to even worse owners. He studied the council carefully. They seemed nervous, almost afraid of him. "Show me," Jack said finally, his voice firm but calm. The council led him to a small holding cell. Inside, a young alien woman sat on the floor, her hands folded. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes shone faintly gold. She looked fragile, yet there was a strength in her posture that made Jack pause. When she saw him, her eyes widened. She didn't speak immediately but seemed to study him closely. "Her name?" Jack asked. "Lyra," the council answered. "Bonded, legal property, to pay debt." Jack felt a tight knot in his stomach. The word property sounded wrong in his ears, even though he knew it was legal in this region of space. He stepped closer to Lyra. She didn't move, but her eyes followed him. There was something intelligent there, something alert. Jack didn't like slavery. He had grown up in human colonies where slavery had long been abolished. He had been taught that freedom was a basic right. Yet here, in the outer rim, the rules were different. "I don't want a slave," Jack said, his voice low. "I want to help people, not own them." The council looked alarmed. "Human cannot refuse, payment required, debt." Jack shook his head. He had an idea. "I will take her, but she is not a slave. I will free her under human law. If you resist, I take her anyway and you have no claim." There was a long silence. Lyra tilted her head slightly, as if understanding his words. Then she slowly stood, her movements graceful. Jack noticed how carefully she held herself, almost like a noble in hiding. He had expected fear or despair, but her eyes showed something else, curiosity. And something else he couldn't name. "Come with me," Jack said, stepping aside. He unlocked the holding cell and gestured for her to follow. She hesitated for a moment, then walked beside him, silent but confident. On the way to his ship, Jack asked lightly, "Do you understand human law?" Lyra's voice was soft, melodic, but precise. "I know enough. You say I am free." "Yes," Jack said. "You are free. No one can claim you. If anyone tries, we handle it." Her golden eyes widened slightly. "Free human?" she asked. The concept seemed almost foreign to her. "Yes, free," Jack repeated. He noticed a flicker of something in her expression, like hope mixed with disbelief. Once aboard his ship, Jack showed her the basics. He didn't want to scare her with too much information. He explained the cabin, the navigation, the sleeping quarters. Lyra was quick to learn, her hands moving naturally over buttons and levers. She asked questions, not many, but they were pointed and intelligent. Jack realized she was more educated than most aliens he had met in the Outer Rim, far more. As the ship left the outpost, the stars stretched before them. Jack kept glancing at her. He didn't know why he felt a strange protectiveness. Maybe it was because she had been sold as a slave, or maybe it was something deeper he couldn't yet name. Lyra didn't speak much, but she occasionally glanced at him, her eyes thoughtful. Days passed. Jack and Lyra fell into a routine. She helped with repairs, navigation, and even minor calculations. When pirates attacked their ship while passing through a dense asteroid field, it was Lyra who suggested the maneuver that saved them. Jack had expected her to be helpless, but she had instincts, intelligence, and courage. He realized then that this was no ordinary alien. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He watched her as she floated in zero gravity, reading a star chart. Her skin reflected the soft lights of the ship, and her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She noticed him watching and gave a small nod, acknowledging his presence without speaking. Jack felt a strange mix of awe and confusion. "Why do you look at me like that?" Lyra finally asked, her voice soft but firm. Jack hesitated. I didn't expect someone like you. I thought you'd be afraid, angry, or desperate, but you're calm, capable, stronger than most humans I know." Lyra studied him. "I had no choice before. I learned to survive." Jack nodded slowly. "Survival is one thing, freedom, that's different. Now you can choose anything." She didn't respond immediately. The silence stretched, comfortable yet tense. Finally, she whispered, "Then I will follow. Not because I am forced, but because I want to learn and to trust." Jack felt a strange warmth at her words. He realized that trust, once earned, was more valuable than any credit or payment he had ever received. He didn't know where this journey would take them, but he knew one thing. Lyra was not just a slave, not just a payment. She was something more, and he would protect her no matter what. As the ship drifted deeper into uncharted space, Jack began to notice subtle things about her. Her posture, her movements, even the way she looked at the stars, it was precise, deliberate. She seemed to carry knowledge far beyond her years. She spoke little of her past, but her silence hinted at experiences that were not ordinary. Jack wondered who she really was, and why she had been sold into slavery. The first part of their journey ended with a quiet understanding. Jack had rescued her, freed her, and offered protection. Lyra had accepted him as a guide, a friend, perhaps something more. Both knew danger would follow. They could feel it in the quiet hum of space, in the distant signals of alien factions, and in the weight of secrets she carried. Yet, for the first time in months, Jack felt hope. And Lyra, for the first time in a long while, felt something she had almost forgotten: freedom. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and the story of a human and an alien, bound by trust and mystery, was only beginning. The ship hummed softly as it glided through the black emptiness of space. Jack Carter sat in the pilot's seat, his hands resting on the controls, while Lyra studied the star maps projected in front of her. The calm of space was deceptive. They both knew danger could appear at any moment. "Are we safe?" Lyra asked, her voice quiet. It was unusual for her to speak so directly, but Jack didn't mind. He could see the worry in her eyes. "As safe as anyone can be out here," Jack replied. "But nothing's ever guaranteed in the Rim. Pirates, rogue fleets, or worse, trouble has a way of finding travelers." Lyra nodded. She glanced at him, then returned her attention to the maps. Her fingers moved quickly, tracing routes between stars. Jack noticed how precise she was, almost as if she could see through the dark patches of space, predicting hidden dangers. He had seen many aliens, but Lyra's skills were remarkable. They had been traveling for days, following trade routes that were rarely used. Jack thought this would be a good way to stay unnoticed. They passed derelict ships and asteroid fields, using them as cover from sensors and scanners. Lyra helped navigate the fields, pointing out safe passages that even Jack hadn't noticed. He began to realize that her knowledge went far beyond ordinary survival skills. One afternoon, a warning light flashed on the dashboard. Jack leaned forward. "Pirates," he muttered. The ship shuddered as the alarm continued. "They are coming from the asteroid belt ahead," Lyra said, her voice calm but firm. She pointed to a cluster of small rocks. "We can use that field. They will not expect us to hide there." Jack nodded quickly. He had done similar maneuvers before, but the way Lyra guided him made it smoother, almost effortless. He adjusted the controls, and the ship weaved through the asteroid field like a shadow. The pirates' scanners were confused, and for a moment it seemed they had escaped. Then the first laser shot hit the hull. Jack gritted his teeth. "They found us," he shouted. The ship rocked violently, alarms blaring. "Keep steady," Lyra said, moving to his side. She pressed buttons he didn't recognize, her hands moving with speed and confidence. The lasers missed or barely grazed as she manipulated the ship's shields. Jack watched, astonished. He had never seen anyone, human or alien, use ship systems like that. How do you know this?" he asked, but she didn't answer immediately. Instead, she focused on the controls, guiding him through the danger. They moved deeper into the field, dodging lasers and debris. Finally, the pirates gave up, assuming the ship was destroyed or lost among the rocks. Jack exhaled deeply, leaning back. "You saved us," he said, still amazed. Lyra looked at him calmly. "I have survived worse. You should not be surprised." Jack shook his head. "I am. Most humans or aliens would have panicked. You are not ordinary." She said nothing, but Jack could see her thinking. There was a sadness in her eyes, something he couldn't yet understand. He decided not to ask. Some stories were revealed only when the time was right. That night the ship's interior was quiet. Jack lay in his bunk, but sleep would not come. He kept thinking about Lyra, about the intelligence and skill she had shown. He wondered how a being so capable could end up as a slave. It didn't make sense. Someone like her should have been leading, not serving. Meanwhile, Lyra sat in the observation deck, staring at the stars. She didn't move much, but her mind was busy. Jack had saved her from slavery, but freedom brought uncertainty. She had been trained to survive, to obey, and to hide her past. Now all that had changed. Humans, unlike the aliens she knew, treated her as a person, not property. It was confusing and frightening, but also freeing. The next day, Jack decided to test Lyra's abilities further. He asked her to help analyze a nearby star system, one rumored to contain abandoned outposts and hidden trade routes. She quickly scanned the data, pointing out safe paths, hidden dangers, and places where valuable salvage might be found. Jack was impressed. "You've traveled a lot," he said casually. "You know a lot about space." Lyra hesitated. "I traveled more than most. I learned many things to survive." Jack frowned. "Survive? That sounds like more than just traveling. You know strategy, technology, even politics. How did you learn all that?" Her face remained calm, but her eyes flickered. "I had teachers. I had responsibilities, things you would not understand." Jack nodded slowly. He didn't push further. He had a feeling he would learn more in time. For now, he respected her silence. Days passed, and their journey continued. They avoided major trade lanes and stayed in less patrolled regions, but Lyra's abilities continued to show themselves. She repaired damaged systems, navigated through asteroid belts, and even negotiated a safe passage with a suspicious trading vessel using only her words. Jack watched her and realized she had the mind of a leader, not a servant. One evening they received a transmission from an unknown source. It was brief, just a few words in a formal alien dialect. Lyra immediately recognized it and paled. Jack noticed her reaction. "What is it?" he asked. They know where I am," she whispered. Her voice shook slightly, though she tried to hide it. "Who?" "Aliens, they tracked me," she said. "I was their property once, or they thought I was lost. They will come for me." Jack's jaw tightened. "Then we make sure they don't get you. No one touches you." "I don't care who they are." Lyra looked at him, startled by the strength in his voice. She had been betrayed before, sold to strangers, used as property. Trust had been dangerous, even deadly. But Jack, he seemed different. He didn't just talk, he acted. He protected. Over the next few days, the tension grew. Sensors picked up distant ships following them, moving quietly, as if tracking their every move. Lyra remained calm but vigilant, warning Jack of every minor anomaly. Together, they plotted courses to avoid detection, using her knowledge of hidden star systems. One night, they were forced into a sudden confrontation. A small fleet of alien vessels appeared, surrounding their ship. Jack prepared for combat, but Lyra calmly approached the controls. "Let me handle this," she said. Her voice was steady. "I know them. I know how they think." Jack watched in amazement as she communicated with the alien fleet through an old protocol. She spoke in a dialect he didn't understand, but the effect was immediate. The ship slowed, then hesitated. Lyra gave a final command and the fleet broke off, leaving them alone. What was that?" Jack asked. "Persuasion," she said simply. "They respect knowledge. They follow strength, not violence." Jack shook his head. "I've never met anyone like you. No human, no alien, nobody." Lyra gave a small, almost shy smile. "I am not ordinary." That night, as Jack tried to sleep, he thought about her words. He realized that Lyra was not just a survivor. She had a presence, a mind, and a history that went far beyond what he could see. He wondered who she really was, and why someone of her skill had been sold into slavery. The days became weeks. They traveled in silence most of the time, sharing small stories, small laughs, and small comforts. Lyra learned more about humans, about their ways, their laws, and their ideas of freedom. Jack learned more about her intelligence, her bravery, and her quiet dignity. One evening, as they passed a quiet nebula, Jack asked, "Lyra, do you ever think about the past, about where you came from?" She stared at the swirling colors of the nebula, her golden eyes reflecting the light. "I try not to. The past, it is dangerous." "Some things are better forgotten," Jack nodded. "Sometimes, but the past can also teach us. Maybe one day when you are ready you will tell me." She looked at him for a long moment. Jack could see the conflict in her expression. Part of her wanted to reveal, to unburden herself. Part of her feared the consequences. Finally, she said softly, "Perhaps, one day, soon, I think you will understand." Jack felt a chill. He didn't know what she meant, but he had the sense that her past was more than just ordinary misfortune. It was something powerful, something that could change everything. And in the quiet hum of the ship, they continued their journey, moving deeper into uncharted space. Danger was near, but so was discovery. Jack knew that Lyra was hiding something extraordinary, something that could shake the galaxy. And for the first time, he realized that this journey was no longer just about salvage or survival. It was about trust, freedom, and a mystery that could not be ignored. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and the bond between human and alien grew stronger. Together, they would face dangers, uncover secrets, and confront the hidden truths of a galaxy that was larger, stranger, and more dangerous than either of them had ever imagined. Jack Carter and Lyra had been traveling through space for weeks, avoiding major trade routes and pirate-infested sectors. Every day Jack noticed more about her, the way she moved, how she handled the ship, and the way her mind worked. She was unlike anyone he had ever met. One day their ship passed through a small neutral trading station. It was quiet, almost forgotten, with only a few ships docked and minimal security. Jack decided to stop. They needed supplies, repairs, and, more importantly, a place to rest. As they entered the docking bay, Lyra looked around with cautious curiosity. Her eyes, sharp and observant, took in every detail. Jack noticed a pendant around her neck glinting in the light. It was a small, intricate piece of metal, with a strange symbol he didn't recognize. He had asked her about it before, but she had only said it was family. While Jack went to speak with the station merchant about supplies, Lyra lingered near the docks. A small group of aliens approached her. They were older, their clothes ornate, and their eyes widened the moment they saw her. "Elena," one of them whispered. The name made Lyra stiffen, her calm demeanor faltering for the first time in weeks. Jack returned and noticed the group. "Do I know them?" he asked. Lyra looked at him, her eyes tense. I need to speak with them. Alone." Jack hesitated but nodded. "Be careful." She stepped forward and the aliens bowed slightly. "You survived," one of them said, almost in disbelief. "I did," Lyra replied quietly, her voice steady but her hands clenched at her sides. "How did you—" "We tracked you," the elder said. "For years we thought you were lost. We feared the worst." Jack watched silently, feeling the tension in the air. He had never seen Lyra like this, her usual calm, composed self replaced with a mixture of fear and recognition. Finally she spoke, her voice low. "I was sold, taken far from home. I survived alone." The elder's eyes softened. "You were hidden for your protection. The Solaran Empire, it was betrayed. Enemies erased it from history. You are the last heir, the only hope for our people." Jack blinked. He had expected danger, pirates, or conflict, but royalty. He looked at Lyra, or rather, Elena now, and realized there was far more to her than he had ever imagined. I am," she whispered, her hands trembling slightly as she touched the pendant around her neck. The symbol seemed to glow faintly in the station's light. I thought I was forgotten. I thought it was over." "It is not over," the elder said firmly. "Your people survived in hiding. They need a leader, someone who can restore the Solaran legacy, and you are that leader." Jack stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Elena, I don't know about empires or politics, but I know this: you're strong, and I'll stand with you." Elena looked at him, surprised by the sincerity in his eyes. Why do you care?" Jack shrugged. "Maybe because I believe freedom matters. Maybe because I know what it's like to be hunted, to be used. You deserve better." The elder smiled faintly. "Humans, sometimes they surprise us. Your loyalty will be remembered." After the meeting, Jack and Elena returned to the ship. The atmosphere was tense but not hostile. Elena sat quietly, staring out at the stars. Jack didn't speak immediately. He sensed she needed time to process. They tracked me all this time," she said finally. "I thought I was alone, that no one cared." Jack nodded. "You weren't, and you aren't alone now. You have me. We'll figure this out together." She gave a small, almost hesitant smile. "I thank you for everything." As they left the station, Jack noticed subtle changes. Elena's demeanor had shifted. She was quieter, but her movements were precise and deliberate. She seemed to carry a weight, a responsibility that even Jack could feel from afar. The journey continued, but danger followed. Sensors picked up alien patrols searching for Elena. Jack knew they couldn't avoid conflict forever. He decided to take her to a hidden system, one rumored to contain remnants of the old Solaran Empire. It was dangerous, but it offered hope. During the trip, Jack asked Elena more about her past. She spoke slowly, carefully. I was trained as a child to survive, to lead, to hide. My parents, they were betrayed. Enemies wanted the empire gone. I was taken to protect me, but I was sold instead." Jack frowned. "Sold how?" "As property," she said simply. "To hide me, they claimed. To keep me safe. They thought it was the only way, but it became a prison." Jack felt anger rising, but he kept it in check. "You're free now," he said firmly. "No one can touch you." She looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and sadness. "Freedom, it is strange. I do not know how to be free fully," Jack smiled gently. "Then we'll figure it out together, step by step." As days passed, Alina revealed more of her skills. She knew about star systems that had been forgotten, ancient technology, and political alliances long erased from records. She planned routes that kept them safe, and even helped Jack repair minor damage to the ship using techniques he had never seen. One night, while monitoring the ship's sensors, Alina noticed something unusual. A small fleet of ships, cloaked and fast-moving, was approaching. She alerted Jack immediately. "They found us," she said quietly but with determination. "They want me, and they will not stop." Jack's eyes hardened. "Then we don't let them. We fight if we have to. I won't let anyone take you." The next hours were tense. The cloaked ships attempted to intercept them, but Alina guided Jack through hidden passages, asteroid belts, and space debris. Their ship moved like a shadow, evading the enemy. Finally, they reached a secluded sector, a small system with abandoned colonies and old stations. "This will be safe for now," Alina said. "They cannot follow easily here. The system is forgotten by most." Jack nodded. "Good. We need time to plan, and I need to know, what are they? Who are these people who want you so badly?" Alina's face was serious. "They are remnants of the factions that destroyed the Solaran Empire. They fear me, because if I survive, if I take my place, I will restore what was lost, and they cannot allow that." Jack realized the danger was far greater than he had imagined. Alina was not just an alien with a mysterious past. She was a symbol, a key to power that many would kill to control. He felt a mix of fear and awe. "Then we prepare," he said firmly. "We do this together. I stand with you, Alina, no matter what." She looked at him, her eyes reflecting trust, hope, and something more. "Thank you, Jack. Your loyalty, it is rare among humans." He smiled faintly. "I don't do it for loyalty. I do it because it's right, and because I believe in you." As they settled into the abandoned system, Alina began to explore her heritage further. She scanned old records, maps, and data left behind in the colonies. Jack assisted, learning more about the lost Solaran Empire. He realized it had been a great civilization, advanced in technology and culture, and wiped out only because of betrayal and fear. This is amazing," Jack said as he studied a holographic map. "You're not just a survivor, you're a leader. You could change the galaxy." Alina nodded. "That is why they want me gone. They fear what I represent. I am the last hope." Jack looked at her, admiration and respect growing. "Then we make sure you survive. Together, we find a way to restore what was lost." The night passed with quiet determination. They both knew the challenges ahead would be greater than anything they had faced before. Alien factions would hunt them, old enemies would emerge, and the galaxy itself might resist the return of the Solaran Empire. But for the first time, Alina felt hope, and Jack felt a sense of purpose beyond simple survival. As the ship drifted among the forgotten colonies, the stars stretched endlessly before them. A human and an alien, bound by trust and circumstance, prepared to face a galaxy that had long forgotten what power, hope, and freedom truly meant. Together, they would uncover secrets, fight enemies, and challenge the destiny that had been forced upon them. The journey was far from over. The heir of a lost empire had been found, and a human who had accepted a slave as payment had become her protector. The galaxy would soon learn that the past could not remain buried forever, and that even the smallest acts of freedom could ignite the flames of change. Jack Carter and Alina had settled temporarily in the abandoned system, hidden among old colonies and forgotten stations. The place was quiet, a perfect cover from the alien faction searching for her. Yet, even in this quiet, the weight of Alina's heritage pressed heavily on both of them. Alina spent her days studying the remnants of the Solaran Empire. Holographic maps, old star charts, and scattered records painted a picture of a once great civilization. She discovered trade routes, defensive stations, and hidden resources that could be used if the empire were restored. Every detail she uncovered was a piece of her past and a step toward reclaiming her people. Jack assisted where he could, helping repair ancient machinery, translating alien scripts, and keeping the ship operational. He had never been part of anything so important, so meaningful. This was no simple salvage mission anymore. He was part of a story that could change the galaxy. "Do you ever feel afraid?" Jack asked one night as they floated in orbit around a ruined planet. The stars shone brightly, but the darkness between them seemed heavier. Alina looked at him, her golden eyes reflecting the starlight. "Afraid? Yes, every day. My enemies are powerful and I have no army. The galaxy believes the Solaran Empire is gone. If I am captured, if they succeed, all is lost." Jack reached out, placing his hand gently on hers. "You won't be captured, not while I'm here. Humans fight for what is right. We don't leave anyone behind." She nodded, touched by his words, but her expression remained serious. "I have learned to survive alone, Jack. I have trusted few, and even fewer survived my trust. Yet you are different. You do not see me as a tool or a weapon. You see me as I am." Jack smiled faintly. "Because that's what freedom is about, not property, not power. People matter, you matter." They spent the next days planning. Alina's enemies were not idle. Scouts and small patrols occasionally passed near the system. She knew that sooner or later she would have to confront them. Jack insisted they alert human authorities, even beyond their borders. "Humans will intervene," Jack said. "We don't let slavery or threats to freedom go unchecked. If they know you're being hunted, they'll help." Alina was hesitant. "Human law beyond your borders. Will they act?" Jack nodded. "They will. Humans take freedom seriously. Once we ask for help, they will respond." He sent a discreet signal explaining the situation. Within days, human patrol ships arrived. Their presence was imposing, sleek, heavily armed, and uncompromising. When alien scouts approached, the humans intercepted them without hesitation, enforcing the message that no alien faction could claim ownership of a sentient being under human protection. Alina watched in awe. She had lived most of her life under fear, sold, hunted, and hidden. Humans had fought not for power, not for conquest, but for principle. It was a foreign idea to her, yet one she found inspiring. "They fight for ideals," she said softly to Jack. "Not for themselves, not for greed. That is rare." Jack shrugged. "Humans are not perfect. But when it comes to freedom, we stand together. Some things are worth defending, no matter the cost." Over the next few weeks, Alina began training with the human forces. She practiced tactics, strategy, and coordination. Jack observed her with admiration. She was already intelligent and capable, but under his guidance and with human support, she was becoming something more, an effective leader, a force to be reckoned with. At the same time, scouts and messengers from hidden Solaran survivors began to reach her. Scattered colonies and secret enclaves had preserved knowledge, culture, and technology, waiting for the return of their heir. Alina welcomed them cautiously. She could sense fear and loyalty in equal measure, and knew that rebuilding an empire required trust as much as skill. One day, a human diplomat approached Jack and Alina. She was calm, professional, and firm. "Alina Solarin," she said, "the humans are prepared to support your claim, but you must be careful. Your enemies are many and their resources are vast. We can protect you, but only if you act wisely." Alina nodded. I understand. I must reclaim my empire, but not as a conqueror. The Solaran Empire must return as a protector, not a tyrant, and I must not endanger those who help me." Jack looked at her, pride swelling. "You've thought about this far more than most rulers. You're not just surviving, you're leading." Her expression softened briefly, then hardened. Survival was never enough. Leadership, it requires courage and sometimes sacrifice. That night, Jack and Alina spoke privately. "Are you ready for what's coming?" he asked. She looked out at the stars, her golden eyes steady. "I am ready. The galaxy cannot erase the Solaran Empire forever. It is my responsibility to restore it, and now I have allies." Jack reached for her hand. "Then we do this together. Humans, Solaran survivors, me. We face them together." The following weeks were filled with preparation. Alina coordinated the scattered Solaran survivors, training them, equipping them, and establishing secure communication networks. Jack helped build defenses around the hidden colonies, using human technology to reinforce their positions. They also developed contingency plans, knowing that alien factions would soon retaliate. Then, the first attack came. A fleet of ships, larger and more advanced than anything they had faced, approached the hidden system. Jack and Alina prepared defenses, human ships aligning with Solaran survivors in a coordinated formation. The battle was intense. Lasers fired, ships maneuvered through asteroid belts, and shields held under incredible pressure. Alina guided the survivors, issuing orders with precision, while Jack piloted their ship through the chaos, protecting her from direct attack. At one point, an enemy ship broke through the outer defenses, heading straight for Alina's command center. Jack acted without hesitation, intercepting it with his small but agile ship. Using both human technology and Alina's strategic guidance, he disabled the enemy vessel before it could strike. After hours of fighting, the enemy fleet retreated, surprised by the resistance and coordination they encountered. Alina's leadership, combined with human support, had turned a dangerous ambush into a decisive defense. "You were incredible," Jack said after the battle, watching her give orders to regroup and repair. She gave a small smile, weary but proud. "I had to be. This is only the beginning. My enemies will not give up. They fear the return of the Solaran Empire." Jack nodded. "Then we prepare. We fight, yes, but we protect too. We keep your people safe and we reclaim your legacy without losing our humanity." Alina looked at him, her eyes reflecting both gratitude and determination. "Humans, they do not always understand our ways, but you understand what it means to fight for freedom, not power. That gives me hope." In the days that followed, Alina solidified alliances with the hidden Solaran colonies. She shared knowledge, technology, and leadership strategies. The survivors began to rally, inspired not only by her claim but also by the support humans had shown. Jack watched, proud and in awe, as the last heir of a lost empire began to rise. Yet, even as they celebrated small victories, Jack and Alina knew the larger challenges were ahead. The galaxy had not forgotten the Solaran Empire, and powerful factions would not relinquish control without conflict. Human support provided protection, but the path to restoring the empire would require courage, intelligence, and unity. One evening, as they floated above a reconstructed outpost, Alina turned to Jack. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for standing with me, for trusting me, for believing in freedom." Jack smiled gently. "I don't need thanks. I do this because it's right. And because you deserve better than what you've endured." Alina's golden eyes softened, and for a brief moment, the weight of her past, the betrayal, and the danger seemed lighter. She knew that with Jack, with human support, and with her people rallying behind her, she could face what was coming. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and a human and an alien heir, bound by trust and shared purpose, prepared to challenge the galaxy. The Solaran Empire's return was no longer a dream. It was a plan, a movement, and a reality slowly taking shape. Together, they would face enemies, rebuild what was lost, and ensure that freedom, justice, and courage would define the future of the galaxy. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, Elena felt the power of allies and the hope that even the smallest human action, a choice to protect, to trust, could ignite the restoration of an empire. And Jack, who had once accepted a slave as payment, realized he was part of something far greater than salvage work, adventure, or survival. He was part of history. Together, they would change the course of the galaxy. The galaxy was tense. Elena Solarin, the last heir of the lost Solarin Empire, had gathered her people, human allies and loyal survivors. Rumors of her survival and rising power had spread, and enemies that had once thought her gone were now preparing to strike. Jack Carter stood beside her, ready for whatever came next. "Are we ready?" Jack asked, scanning the star charts in front of him. The fleet they had assembled was small compared to the enemy forces, but it was well-trained and motivated. Elena's leadership had already inspired loyalty, courage, and determination. "We are ready," Elena said, her golden eyes steady. "We may be outnumbered, but we are not powerless. Every move has been planned, every route considered. We take back what is ours, and we do it wisely." Jack nodded. He admired her calm confidence. In the weeks since the first human support had arrived, she had grown into a true leader, guiding her people with intelligence and care. Yet, he knew the coming battle would test them all. They approached the ruins of the Solarin capital world. It was a shattered planet, scarred from past wars, but its ancient structures still held the remnants of a once great empire. Elena's fleet moved silently through orbit, taking positions near hidden asteroid belts and natural cover. Human ships patrolled the perimeter, ready to intercept any approaching enemy forces. "Remember," Elena said to her commanders, "we fight not for revenge but to protect our people. Every decision counts. Mistakes will cost lives. Stay calm, stay united." Jack watched her give orders, his respect deepening. She was no longer the alien he had rescued. She was a leader, a strategist, and soon she would be the empress of a restored empire. Suddenly, sensors picked up incoming enemy fleets. Hundreds of ships emerged from cloaked positions, moving quickly and aggressively. The enemy had anticipated their return. The battle was about to begin. "Hold your positions," Elena commanded. "Focus fire on their lead ships. Do not break formation." Jack piloted their ship into the fray, dodging lasers and debris as explosions lit the darkness of space. Elena guided him, pointing out weak spots, hidden paths, and escape routes. Together they moved as one, their trust evident in every maneuver. The battle raged for hours. Enemy ships fired relentlessly, trying to break the human Solarin alliance. Shields flared, engines burned, and smaller fighters skirmished near the larger vessels. Yet, Elena's strategies, combined with human technology and disciplined crews, allowed them to hold their ground. At one point, a massive enemy flagship broke through the outer defenses, heading straight for the central command station of Elena's fleet. Jack and Elena acted instantly. She directed their fastest ships to intercept, while Jack piloted their own vessel directly toward the enemy ship, using skill, agility, and the knowledge he had gained from weeks with Elena. They dodged laser fire, fired targeted shots at critical systems, and managed to disable the flagship before it could strike. The enemy fleet hesitated, shocked by the precision and coordination of the smaller force. Elena seized the moment, ordering a full counterattack. Their fleet moved like a single organism, striking decisively at weak points. Slowly but surely, the enemy began to retreat. Ships that had once seemed unbeatable fell under coordinated attacks or fled in fear of losses. Human ships cut off escape routes, ensuring no reinforcements would arrive. Within hours, the battle was over. Elena's forces had won. Jack exhaled, leaning back. "We did it," he said, still gripping the controls. Alina stood on the command deck, looking at the remaining enemy vessels disappearing into the void. "This is only the beginning," she said softly. "We have won this battle, but the galaxy will not forget us. We must rebuild carefully, wisely, and justly." Jack looked at her, admiration in his eyes. "You led them, all of them. Your people, the humans, you did it." She turned to him, her expression softening. "I could not have done it without you. Without human support, without your courage, Jack, we would not have succeeded." In the days following the battle, Alina began reclaiming her empire. Survivors returned to the capital, helped by human technology and guidance. Colonies that had hidden for decades came forward, pledging loyalty. Old records and treasures of the Solaran Empire were restored, giving her the means to rebuild. Jack watched as she addressed her people for the first time. Her voice was firm but kind, commanding yet compassionate. She spoke of freedom, justice, and protection. She did not seek revenge. She sought a future where the Solaran Empire could thrive once more, respected, not feared. "Today," she said, "we reclaim what was lost, not for power or wealth, but to protect our people and the freedom of all. We will rise, not as rulers who demand obedience, but as leaders who inspire trust, loyalty, and hope." The crowd of survivors erupted in cheers. Jack felt pride swell in his chest. He had rescued a slave, and now she was the empress of a restored empire. The galaxy would never be the same. Yet, challenges remained. Factions that had survived in the shadows were regrouping. Some sought revenge, others feared the return of the Solaran Empire. Alina knew diplomacy would be as important as strength. She sent envoys, negotiated treaties, and ensured that the restored empire would not fall into tyranny. Jack worked alongside her, coordinating with human forces, helping establish secure trade routes, and ensuring that the empire's restoration did not destabilize neighboring systems. He realized that his life had changed completely. What began as a simple salvage mission had become history itself. One evening, after months of rebuilding, Alina and Jack stood on a high balcony overlooking the reconstructed capital. The sun of the local star bathed the city in golden light. "It is beautiful," Jack said quietly. "All of this, you did it." Alina smiled, her golden eyes reflecting the light. "We did it together, the people, the humans, and you, Jack. You believed in me when few would have. You stood by me when it mattered most." Jack shook his head. "I didn't do it for praise. I did it because it was right, because you deserved freedom and a chance to lead. Nothing else mattered." She took his hand, her touch gentle but firm. "I will never forget that. You saved me, and in doing so, you changed the course of the galaxy. The Solaran Empire will honor your name always." He felt a warmth in his chest, a mix of pride and humility. He had never imagined that freeing a slave would lead to this: the restoration of an empire, the survival of a people, and the bond he shared with Alina. In the months that followed, the Solaran Empire grew steadily. Trade routes were restored, defenses strengthened, and alliances formed. Alina ruled wisely, guided by the principles of justice and protection. She ensured her people would never suffer betrayal or oppression as she had. Jack returned to his ship occasionally, tending to repairs and helping with exploration missions. Yet, he remained close to Alina, his presence a constant support. Their bond deepened, not as ruler and subject, but as equals, friends, and companions who had faced the galaxy together. One day, Alina called Jack to the council chambers. She stood before the restored council, her expression firm. "We will not rule with fear. We will not dominate. We will protect freedom, inspire loyalty, and honor those who fought for us. This is the Solaran way, restored through trust, courage, and unity." Jack watched from the side, knowing that she had become the leader she was always meant to be. The galaxy had witnessed the return of a lost empire, led by a woman who had survived slavery, betrayal, and fear. and a human who had chosen to act with principle, courage, and trust had been part of that story. As the council meeting ended, Alina turned to Jack. "Come with me," she said softly. They walked together to the balcony overlooking the city and the stars beyond. "What now?" Jack asked. "Now," Alina said, "we ensure the Empire thrives. We protect freedom and we honor the past while building the future. But we also live. We do not let fear rule us. We have won, but our journey is just beginning." Jack smiled. "I like that. The future, we shape it ourselves." Alina looked at him, her eyes shining. "And I could not have asked for a better partner in this journey. You believed in freedom, in justice, and in me. Together, we can face anything." The stars stretched endlessly before them, the galaxy quiet and alive with possibility. The Solaran Empire had returned, not through conquest or fear, but through courage, trust, and unity. And Jack Carter, who had accepted a slave as payment, had helped restore a lost empire, protect countless lives, and change the course of history. As they stood together, side by side, the night sky seemed brighter than ever. The journey that had begun with a single act of kindness, a choice to free a slave, had become a story of hope, courage, and freedom for the entire galaxy. And in that moment, both human and alien knew the truth. The smallest acts of courage could ignite the greatest changes, and the bond between two determined hearts could reshape the fate of worlds. The galaxy would never forget the human who stood with the last heir of a lost empire, and the alien woman who reclaimed her legacy, guided not by revenge, but by justice, freedom, and the hope of a better future. The story of Jack Carter and Alina Solarin had ended one chapter, but their journey and the restored empire would continue, shining as a beacon across the stars.